I live close enough to Shenandoah that I can smell wood smoke on the first cool nights of October. We both carried paper maps, knowing batteries die and printers don't. We left the Berry Hollow lot at 3:30 p.m., beginning the climb up Weekly Hollow Fire Road. We were just two guys who preferred a longer approach to playing human Tetris through the rock gardens. We reached the summit at 6:05 p.m., shared a stale hoagie. With the confidence of people who'd done this plenty, we missed a faint turn and took a faint, abandoned track instead.
10 minutes later, I noticed the first sign. A shaved stick in the ground, chest high, with fresh green cambium showing. Not park maintenance, but something done yesterday. More appeared. The track narrowed, and the grade felt slightly wrong. At 8:20 p.m., Ben's foot jerked back as he hit an almost invisible loop of monofilament, a snare, strung shin high. We realized we were on an illegal line. I put my lamp on high and spotted another loop 10 yards ahead, then 3 more set in a fan around a game trail. We paused only long enough for Ben to press each loop slack with his poles, lifting them without tripping whatever was tied to them. We were in the wrong place. I checked the compass. We were heading south-southeast, which directionally fit, but the terrain did not. Then the final signal came. A narrow, hard beam of a flashlight snapped on behind us, caught our backs, and instantly cut off. At the same moment, the woods to our right broke as something heavy began pacing us upslope. We moved without talking. I dropped my lamp too low. We made a decision. We stepped off the track into the dense laurel and angled downhill toward the steady sound of water. We kept our headlamps low, beams pointed at our own boots, while the break in the brush kept pace above us. When our ankles hit the cold water, we stopped, killed our lights, and moved by feel in the narrow, rocky stream bed. The water took our noise. Twice more, I felt the whisper of monofilament on my shin. At 8:55 p.m., a small but sharp metal clatter rang out behind us, followed by a sharp exhale from upslope. Someone had walked into a snare. We kept moving, using our hands instead of poles. I hit a deadfall laid across the drainage, an arranged barrier. My hands felt the monofilament, 3 loops set in layers. Ben used his poles to rake the loops away, and we crawled under on hands and knees, the quartz cutting my knuckles. We continued finding lines, including a baited cable restraint. The light behind us flashed once more, marking us, then vanished. At 11:10 p.m., after more than 2 hours of careful evasion, we climbed the bank and stood on the pale, crushed stone of the main Weekly Hollow Fire Road.
We didn't look back. We turned toward the lot and walked with a steady pace.
The next morning, Ben and I guided the rangers back in. It took less than 5 minutes to find the first snare. They tagged and bagged a dozen illegal lines and 2 cable restraints. I watched my knuckles line up with the gritty scars in the stone where I'd crawled under the deadfall.
The ranger confirmed the pattern matched a previous poaching case. We left, my hand throbbing, knowing we had done the next thing. The ferry nosed into the landing just before midday. After setting up camp at Site 86, we walked up to the old Calhoun house and then took our rods toward the Bone Valley Junction. We reached the junction as the afternoon tilted toward evening and cut right onto the side path toward the cemetery. Inside the fenced cemetery, we saw it, a rectangle of fresh, dark soil cut in with a shovel. The dirt piled beside it was wet and crumbly. A long-handled shovel leaned against the fence post, and a 5-gallon bucket with a folded black contractor bag sat behind a headstone. The ground had recent boot prints and a scorched can lid from a small stove. This looked like work in progress. We checked the slope below and found a small camp, a melted wax mold, spent fuel tabs, and a thin piece of rebar, confirming someone had been working there recently. We decided to leave the shovel, but take the bucket. Jess picked it up, wanting something to show that we weren't imagining things. Coming around the final bend, I saw a flame inside our fire ring, a low fire. 2 men stepped out. One had a length of rebar in his right hand. The other had a pack with square corners, like hard boxes inside. Neither said a word. As the second man moved to block our kayaks, I bent, reached for the nearest paddle, and swung it fast at the rebar man's wrist. The blade connected hard with bone. The rebar fell. Jess threw the bucket into the coals, and Marco kicked the second man's knee. We moved as a unit, shoving our kayaks toward the water. I threw my thigh over and sat hard, planting the blade for a power stroke. We fled straight into the creek mouth, crossing Fontana Lake in a wedge formation. We didn't slow until we reached the opposite bank, hid the kayaks, and followed the dark shoreline to a house. I pounded on the door until a man called 911. We gave our statements to the deputy and rangers. I described the disturbed grave, the shovel, and the confrontation. The next morning, under supervision, we led law enforcement back. The ranger found tools,
a roll of bags, and a cloth bundle containing metal fragments consistent with grave decorations. I was asked to keep my paddle as evidence. I didn't stay to fish. I drove home with the honest pain in my hand that told me exactly what I'd done. The charge listed in the public docket confirmed it wasn't vandalism, but a crime to lift history out of the ground. I was out there with my little sister and our cousin in the Dolly Sods wilderness. We expected clear but windy weather for our 2-night loop. We carried paper maps, knowing that out here you can't rely on a phone app. By mid-afternoon, after setting up camp above Red Creek, we headed up a side ridge for the sunset view. That's when I caught the shape. A rectangle of small rocks, big enough to park a car, laid out in a thin line. It was too neat to be random, and we walked around it without stepping inside. On the way down, we spotted clear, non-matching boot prints circling toward our camp from a different direction. Around 23:10, I woke to pee. Swinging my headlamp down, I saw the shine. A thin, hard glint right at chest height. It was fishing line, nylon, taut, running from a branch to a stake with 2 aluminum cans tied to it. This line was facing into the sight, meaning it was designed to make noise if anyone walked out. Someone had strung it while we were cooking, or after we zipped in. I killed my headlamp, froze, and listened. I heard a small sound, a correction step, the quick adjustment a foot makes on a flat rock, up above us on the ridge. I woke my sister and cousin. We agreed, we pack now, and we go. We moved in practiced silence, shouldering our loads. We stepped over the line with the cans and cut sideways through the scrub. On the game trail, we found another line at ankle height with 2 more cans. Our route was decided. We would follow the creek bed south, using the water to mask our noise. The first rock hop dunked my right foot, sending cold through my boot. We kept our headlamps on the lowest setting. We weren't alone on the bank. Twice I heard that correction step again, and small rocks pattered down, loosened by someone moving sideways above us. As we paused behind a boulder, a broken twig snapped once on the bank above. My mind immediately mapped the rock and the angles. Whoever was watching would be just below the crest of that saddle. We moved again. The creek gave us a gift of a gravel bar, allowing us to move fast and quiet for a stretch. We hit the gravel road at 01:40 a.m., turned our headlamps high, and got a call out. The deputy listened patiently.
Forest Service law enforcement hiked in at sunup. They found 3 separate can lines. Near the rock rectangle, they found a buried tote with food and a handwritten grid of dates, a log of activity.
Weeks later, the deputy called me back. They had sighted a man who had been rigging lines so he knew if anyone was moving where he didn't want them. I still think about that night when the wind hits a ridge and the grass lies down in squares.